Hello, good evening to all of you that are tuned in to Ubuntu channel. Welcome to Lifestyle, a special program hosted by Moddipher. I hope that you are blessed. I hope that you are fine from wherever you're watching. Do well to subscribe, do well to follow us on Ubuntu channel. That's on YouTube. You can follow us and also right here on Facebook. Share this video because today we'll be talking about a very, very interesting topic. So today I'll be joined in the studio by Taza. Now, Taza is she's a founder of Taza Foundation, a very, very interesting foundation, one that has helped a lot of people. So Taza will be telling us more about this particular foundation and why she decided to open up this foundation. She'll tell us more about the foundation and, of course, the help it has had on the people out there, especially to the young ladies. So Taz will be joining me in the studio shortly. So before she comes in, do well to share, do well to be as interactive as possible because this will be helpful. Our topic today is sexual surviving abuse. So surviving abuse is what we will be talking about. So Taza is here with me in the studio. Taza, good evening. Taza, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm all right,
Good
thank
evening.
you.
How are
How are you?
you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm
All right,
okay.
Taza.
Thank you.
All right, so I've already told our viewers about your foundation, the Taza Foundation. So if you can tell us more about the Taza Foundation, what exactly is Taza Foundation?
Okay, so Taza Foundation is a foundation that deals with rape victims. Yes, so before I go very fast, so Taza means Tabuela, we've come to change the world. So I named it after my name. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because of the meaning that it has. Yes, so we deal with rape
Okay.
victims, both girls and boys. So what we basically do as Taza Foundation, we make sure we seek justice for the little girls and boys who have been sexually abused. And aside from that, we hold their hand into making sure that we watch them each and every step of their healing process.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So maybe you can tell us, I find your name interesting. Why were you named Taza? You tell us about your background, tell us when you're born and so much more. But I'd also love to know why you were named Taza.
Okay, yes. So Taza is a 26-year-old. Yes, so
Mm.
I was born from Nyimba. Yes, so
Yimba, okay.
mom is from Chipata. Yes, mom is from Chipata and dad is from Zimbabwe. Yes, so I honestly don't know why they came up with that name, but it's a boy's name rather.
Ah, it's a boy's name, but what language is it?
Actually, so far, yes. Pardon.
Yes, I'm saying what language is Taza? Like, what's the language? Is it Shewa or what tribe is it?
So it's a mixture of Shona and of Chewa.
Okay. All right. So how were you raised? How was your upbringing like?
Okay, so I would say I was raised in a Christian home, a very humble background, and not really so much about me. Yes, so I was raised in a home where my family is way too tradition. So I'm just someone who is not really too exposed though.
Okay. All right. Maybe let's just get into the foundation itself. You've talked about how you are there to seek justice for boys and girls who've been sexually abused, and what really prompted you to have such a foundation?
Pardon? I can hear you.
All right, I'm saying you have this foundation, and you've talked about what it is all about. Okay, so it is quite interesting that you had to start a foundation that has to do with victims of sexual abuse, talking about boys and girls. Now, I'd love to know what prompted you to have such a foundation on such an issue which society sometimes runs away from. Why sexual abuse? Hello, Taza.
Hi.
Yes, did you hear my question?
I think I didn't get your question clearly
All
because
right,
you're
I'll
breaking a
quickly,
little bit though.
all right, I'll quickly repeat the question. So I'm saying, why is it that your interest is on having a
Okay, can you
foundation
hear
that
me
has
now?
to do? Sure, sure, I can hear you. I can hear
Okay,
you
yes,
loud
I
and
can hear
clear.
you.
Yeah, sure. So I'm
Okay,
saying now,
yes, you can go ahead.
sure thing. So what prompted you to have an organization that has to do with some of the topics that you talked about, abuse, from both boys and girls? What really prompted you to open this foundation?
Okay, so I was sexually abused at the age of 16, of which a son came out of that. And being here in Africa, it wasn't an easy thing for me. Upon that happening to me, I tried by all means to find answers of why such a thing would happen to me as a young girl. But in my research of trying to find answers in healing, I found out that, here in Africa, they tend to put the blame on women, or even
Mm,
boys rather. They tend to put the blame on the victim part, and they don't look at the bigger picture of how that person is feeling or how they can actually help that person. um, I tried undergoing counseling. I tried all the counselors. I paid. I did what I could, but it's something that really took long for me to heal. I was depressed for about 5 years plus, and after that, because of what I went through, I told myself to say, okay, it's high time for me to really stand up and just be the voice um, of the voiceless, because there was no one to hold my hand by the time I was going through such a thing. And the only thing I could get from a lot of people was that, okay, because you have big bums, because of your
mm,
body, you were
mm.
raped because of how your body is. But it's something that I didn't put on myself. I was created like this. So I'm not supposed
Mm,
to be blamed because of how God decided to create me. Yes. So I
yes.
discovered that, and I told myself to say, okay, I will stand up for young girls and boys, and I will be their voice.
Wow, that is quite sad. So, how did this abuse come about? Who was the abuser? Was it just you walking randomly on the road, or it was somebody that you actually were familiar with?
Well, that's a very good question. So, a perpetrator is not someone who comes from afar.
Hmm.
It's someone that I used to live with in the same neighborhood. This is someone
Oh,
that we used to respect. Yes.
oh, somebody you respected. I mean, this was a neighbor?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Okay. So after everything happened, you mentioned something like people not really coming out for you, or supporting you, or standing by you. So when immediately it happened, did you speak out, or you decided to keep quiet and waited for some time? Hello, Taza.
I'm here.
All right. So I'm saying, immediately after the abuse happened, what happened next? Did you speak out immediately, or you waited for some time before you could speak out, or you wanted to just have some courage before you can speak out? How quickly did you speak out?
Okay. Being a daddy's girl, I made sure when I saw something which was strange to me. So I think I can take
Mm-hmm,
you back a little bit. I think by the time we were growing up, it's different by now. So now a
mm-hmm,
10-year-old, they have information about sex. But by then, in as much as I was 16, I literally
mm-hmm.
didn't have much information. So that was a strange thing to me. So I actually went straight to my mother. and I undressed there, and then I told her to say, this happened to me. I don't know. I'm trying to understand. Yes,
Mm,
and my parents took that up there, and then yes, and it wasn't an easy thing. I was trying to um, copy in and accept whatever that happened to me. But before I could even do that, 4 months down the line, my bum started, my belly started becoming big, and I was
mm.
just told to say you're pregnant. And
Oh
I
my.
needed to understand what was happening before I could even get used of the same thing. Before I know
Mm,
it, I have a child, and everyone around me, they're just telling me how I should take care of my child, how I should live like a mother. And it so
mm,
happened that I felt everyone forgot about what happened to me. So they are now concentrating on this child here. So it
mm.
wasn't an easy thing. It took me about 5 years to accept my son.
5 years. So, how was your relationship with your son in those 5 years? How were you dealing with it? Were you breastfeeding the child? Because we actually learned that some women, when they're in that time when they do not want to have a child, especially when they have experiences like that, the one that you had, they tend to throw away their children and maybe give their children to their mother and just live a reckless life. What was the relationship like with your son?
So I would say it's if it wasn't for my family, I think me and my son we wouldn't have been here.
Okay.
Um, After giving birth to my son, it took me hours for me to.
All right, looks like we have lost Taza. So, in case you're watching us and you'd love to contribute, she's actually telling us a story about where she's coming from. At this particular time, she owns a foundation where she's helping people that had a similar experience as has. Okay, so she's actually talked to us about how it all began, and she's still narrating. Hopefully, she'll be back in the studio soon so she can continue briefing us. And of course, Taza is back. Hello, Taza.
Hi.
Yes, we had lost you, but good to have you back. So you were talking about your family being supportive.
Yes, so my family was very much supportive, and I think the first 5 years of me being a mother, it wasn't easy for me, and I thank God, and I thank mom, dad, and my sister who really took up the mother role. I honestly don't even know how it feels like to take care of the baby because my sister was always there to do it for me. So they told me to say, okay, just continue living your life and try if you can heal. So they tried
Mhm.
supporting me in that matter, and my sister took up that responsibility.
Wow. So did you love your son, if I can put it that way?
Yes, I do. I love him, but it took me five
Yeah,
years for me to accept that.
for you to accept him. All right. Okay. I really hope we could have time so I could just get to look at your boy. I'd want to see him. Hello.
Pardon?
I'm saying I'd really, if we'd have time, I'm saying I'd really love to meet your boy, your son, so we could actually see him.
No, he's actually a very smart boy. He's actually someone who helps out in the foundation when we want to donate pads, when we want to do things, all the projects that I do, even when traveling out of Lusaka to seek for such girls, I always go with
Mm.
him.
Amazing. You're training him in the right way. Now let's talk about the abuser, the father. Of course, your son had experienced all this, but at the end of it all, we know that the child is usually a victim and is innocent. So, did you by any means try to connect him with the father, or what happens to the father after that? What step did your family make? Did they put him behind bars, or is he free? And maybe does your son have a relationship with with the father, or maybe with the family of the father?
Okay, I think to be honest, my son doesn't have any relationship with the father. We've just put it like that, me and my family. But it's something that we would allow him maybe when he turns 18.
Okay.
So for now, we're just trying to keep him close to us and try by all means to raise him in the very best way that we could. So
that is
he doesn't
amazing.
have any relationship with the father or the family. Yeah.
Taza, your hope is to seek justice for people who went through the similar thing that you went through. Did you seek for justice?
Pardon?
I'm saying your aim as a foundation is to see to it that any person that went through sexual abuse finally, finds justice. You yourself, did you seek justice and did you find it anyway? Did you take this man to court or was he convicted later on?
I think I didn't really get the last part. My apologies because of the network.
Oh, sure thing. I'll still repeat it. So I'm saying, did you seek justice after you knew of this abuser, you knew where he was found? Did you seek justice? Was this man convicted or did you take him to court? Did your family take any step?
Okay, yeah. So my family tried taking a step there. So when I was young, I remember going to court and I had to speak against that person, though that person was told not to be in the same place with me. And then from then, I personally moved on from that because I wasn't okay. So when I grew up, I wanted to follow up the case and see if that person is still behind bars or not. But
Hmm.
it so happened that it's the same time that my son um, read about me in the Daily Mail that I was sexually abused. So I,
Oh,
instead of following up, I just told myself to say, yes, I need to handle this situation.
so you hid it from your son.
Yes. So my plan
Oh,
was to tell him when he turns 18.
oh, I see.
So he actually read in the newspaper that I was
Oh,
sexually abused. Then he got to discover about everything.
how did he react?
It took him a week after that. So when he read, he would come to me. He used to come to me every day and he would come to say, Taza, so what does it mean when someone rapes someone? So to me, I was thinking I'm educating him. So the boy was
Hmm.
trying to gather information. The next thing I received a call from his teacher to say, okay, your son has he's been crying since morning. So we don't know
Oh
what's
no.
happening. Can you come through? So I had to leave the office. I rushed that side, talked to him, and the only thing he told me was that I know that I'm a product of rape. So it's
Oh
something that I
no.
had to sit down with him. I didn't lie to him. I told him to say, okay, this happened, but doesn't make you less of a child. You're my son, and we're going to do this together. And since that day, it has really given him the passion to really help out in the foundation. So he was actually even telling me to say, so he's a Christmas baby. So he was telling me to say, Mom,
Okay.
on Christmas Day, I want you to get my cake money and buy pads so that we can donate to people from Mississippi.
Wow. That is so inspiring. He's amazing.
Hmm.
All right, let's just now talk about the foundation. I know in the course of doing what you do, you've gotten to meet a lot of people who have had similar experiences, or if anything, you've met people who've had worse situations. So, how many people have you helped so far ever since you uh, opened your foundation?
So far more than 100.
Wow.
Because in the foundation, I have 80 girls that I'm helping right now. Yes, and on a daily basis, I think it's a normal thing to me now. I would uh, knock off from work and I've just find people waiting for me outside with different situations, just trying to
Hmm.
seek justice and answers from me.
Wow. So, how do you deal with it? Okay, I know you've had this experience and maybe you know how to go about it, but there are certain situations that can feel a little above you, like way too much. So, how do you deal with it?
Okay, so to be honest, I actually experienced such something which is way beyond than what I went through. I think 5 days ago, I
Mm,
found a girl waiting for me outside, and this is someone who was raped by her stepfather, and her stepfather is not okay. This is someone who is sick, This is
Oh
someone who
no.
has AIDS, and they
Okay.
tried giving her medication and whatnot, but it so happened that she contacted that.
No.
So,
Okay.
in such situations, I think I tell them what I did. In spite of everything, there are some doors in life that you can pass through just you yourself. So I told them to
Mm,
say, I know this is very hard for you, and I was in your situation. Maybe yours can even be worse than mine, but you only
mm.
have one option, just to accept what happened and don't put the blame on yourself, and just forge ahead. You will heal because I'm here. So for them it's a little bit different, because why? They have me and the team to hold their hand, and like, what happened to me? I didn't have anyone.
Okay. So other than just
Yes.
speaking to them and telling them your story, which other ways do you assist these people?
Okay, so as I said, in Taza Foundation, it's a full team. So we have doctors, we have counselors, we have everyone to be to just lend out their hand. So what we normally do is that if it's something that I can't do on my own, I recommend someone within the team. And the way healing is, I would say it's not a 1 day thing.
Mm-hmm.
So because I healed in 5 years, it doesn't mean someone is going to heal in 5 days. I've had girls in the foundation who've actually healed faster than me, and some who are actually still struggling with that. But I would say, with the help of God, it has really helped us to really give us wisdom on how to take a step on each and every person that comes to us as a foundation.
Wow, wow, that is quite inspiring. All right, so you've existed for some time now. I'd love to find out, have there been any challenges that you have faced, trying to help these victims? Because we know issues like this, we have families coming in. If the abuser maybe is the mother or the father, the family will say, no, just leave this to us. We're going to take care of it as a family. So do you have such occurrences where you face these kinds of uh, obstructions in your course to seek justice?
Yes, we actually do, a lot of times. So you would find a girl would come to you and open up, and 2 days later they just said, "No, I can't do this anymore because I don't want to destroy my mother's marriage." And one thing I can say is that um, a lot of women, when they hear this name Taza, I'm telling you, I know that I'm hated by a lot of women. Why? Because of what we do. So to many women here in Zambia, they feel we are trying to destroy their marriages in trying to help their children. So what do? They hate us. So it's not an easy thing. We've really had more than 10 girls
Hmm.
who came out and decided not to take another step, be in the sense of protecting their mothers' marriages. And we've had
Mm,
girls who are willing to do that, but their parents told them to choose between Taza and their mother. And obviously, a girl would choose you as a mother. And we've had some who've chosen me. And what I do, if a girl says, okay, Taza is not my mother, I adopt them. I start keeping them.
okay, that is quite interesting. So, I think let's talk about that. So we just sensitize the people. You're talking about people thinking you are ruining their marriages, and somebody's wondering what really does she mean. Maybe try to shed more light, also maybe with an example of what transpired. Really,
Pardon?
I'm saying, you've talked about women thinking as though you might ruin their marriages with these abusive husbands, if you can call them that. So maybe try to shed more light with maybe an example or an experience that you've had with any of the girls or boys that you've actually helped. Hello, Taza.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Okay, you can hear me now. All right, so I'll
Yes.
just love you to share an experience that you've had with one of the people that you've actually helped in your foundation. With relation to what you just mentioned, you talked about mothers thinking as though you're trying to destroy their marriages. maybe let's just get to talk about that a
Mhm.
bit, because I know for a fact that there are a lot of people who think in those lines.
Okay, yes. So here in Africa, I would say I've noticed one thing. Us as women, we are told to protect our husband's shame, but I think they don't really tell them to which extent they should protect that shame. So a lot of
Mm,
women, when their husbands uh, rape their daughters. So they wouldn't say it out. So they would just rather keep quiet. And when you have a sit down with them, you have a one-on-one talk with them, they'll only tell you one thing. They'll tell you to say, no, I was taught to protect my husband's shame. So that's the
mm,
response that I've been getting from a lot of people. And some of them, it's actually, they'll just be in shock, not believing what their husband did. But 99% of them, they will tell you to say, no, I'm protecting my husband's shame. So these are women who are ready to lose a daughter and just protect their marriage. There's an
marriage.
incident that I once experienced of the father who started sleeping
Hmm.
with his daughters. One was 6, the other one was 12. So
Oh,
he used to tell his wife to say, I can't go out there and sleep with a different person while I have a daughter here. And while sleeping with their daughters, they used to tell them to say, I'm preparing you for marriage. And this is a house where there's a woman who is aware that her husband is sleeping with her daughters. But in the sense of saying they're protecting their husband's shame, they'll just keep quiet and just let whatever that's happening happen there without knowing that they're destroying the girl child.
hmm, that's one experience. So, how best did you help this family?
Pardon?
How best did you help this family?
Okay, so what I did to this family is that it was hard for me to convince the mother because she told me to say no, she can't lose her marriage. She would rather lose her 2 daughters. So I got the daughters.
Hmm, that is quite very serious now. This is actually very serious. All right, we just move a bit. We could have people who'd want to be a part of your foundation. People would love to support it. Maybe if you can just give me a few details about your foundation, um, where you are found, or maybe just some information or about your social media platforms. Yeah.
Okay, you're breaking a bit. I can't hear you.
All right, would love to know how people can get in touch with you. So your social media platforms, and also maybe how people can just get in touch with you. If it's physically meeting you, people that are going through similar types of challenges.
Okay, so we actually have offices in Tindere. So just where there's preschool after the police station. So that's where our offices are. And people can contact me on my number, which is 0976 0976 or they can visit our page, which is Taza Foundation, and we can get to church from there. So we actually want one thing from the world. I think growing up, um, I saw a lot of people starting up NGOs, organizations, but I think I've discovered one thing. So, people would go out there and say, okay, I'm helping these people. They would get funding. And what do they do at the end of the day? They better their lives
Mm, that's
about the
very true.
goal. So, what we want to do is to help
Hello, Taza. Okay, I think maybe we have lost her for a while. I can no longer hear her as clearly as I was hearing her. So we just get into a few comments that are coming from our social media platform. So feel free to ask Taza any questions, related to sexual abuse, and we'll be very, very glad to hear from you. So we have a comment from Mulungu Ruben Jerome, and it says, what could be your advice to someone being abused by their relatives? That stepfather and the mother is aware and protecting the abuser. That's according to Ruben. Ruben, thank you so much for asking that question, of course, we believe Taza will come and tackle that one for you. We have another one here. How has been your experience with our legal system as well as police in dealing with sexual abuse cases? Quite an interesting question there. This is actually okay. I did miss out the name. I hope the name could come back on the screen so we can actually mention your name there. So we have another one here. It's a wonderful program. I love it. This is actually Henry Musuka. Henry Musuka, thank you so much for being a part of the program. And thank you for enjoying the program. Of course, Lifestyle will be coming to you on Tuesdays at 20 hours. And we'll be getting to talk about so many issues. And I'll be here to play host to this particular program. So to those of you that have asked your questions, thank you so much. And if you also want to ask your questions and you're watching us right now, feel free to do so. Ask your questions, and Taza will come back and answer some of the questions that you have. So simply type your question and it will be displayed here so we can actually hear your voice. It can be a question, it can be a contribution. Do well to be a part of the program. So I'm just waiting for Taza so she can come through and be a part of the discussion right now in the studio. So just stay tuned. I'll be back with Taza, of course, so we can get to answer some of those questions that you have asked. Stay with us.
Globally, 85% of infertility is because of infections, typically the chlamydia and the gonorrhea.
Your time is up. Thank you so much.
Okay, since I've been mentioned, I can react to what comments in the just.
Yes, I haven't finished my point.
Remember,
no, let me finish my point so that my brother can.
Does the Patriotic Front know the kind of damage they have done to our economy and to our country? I do not.
The alleged abduction of Pamela Chisupa, and this case has really kept us on our toes. And in as much as
nobody has been acquitted from this new dawn administration cases that have been started, there's nobody that has been acquitted. Okay.
CJ, foreplay. I'm not talking about jump and begin acting like a kangaroo. No, foreplay. Many of us as Africans, we lack this virtue. This is not there.
Yeah, the time project ku Malabo. What's about the first game to Jana was saying. I think very Taza underrated because even the warm up, you can see the way they are doing warm up. Bare munagati ora na wawina.
Is a tradition that man, or indeed a human being, is born in. Naturally, we are born with Ubuntu. We live with it. We come into this world with that.
Ubuntu ninshira iyo abantu basenderamo ifyo umuntu afwiryo kuba nefyo afwiryo kuchita nefyo afwiryo kwikaliramo Ubuntu.
Chitemiko, Ubuntu mutende.
Ubuntu nikukhala pamoja. Ubuntu nikusamala. Ubuntu nikukondana.
The desire to contribute to positive changes within rural communities is my strong motivation to work hard for my society. For me, that is Ubuntu.
Ubuntu means humbleness. Ubuntu means humility. Ubuntu means love.
Ubuntu is I'm a person because of a person. I'm through a person. I'm who I am because of who we are.
What Ubuntu means to me is the ability to look at the need of others and be able to put yourself in their position, be able to do something about it.
We're going to be offering some of our viewers more content. And apart from more content, we are going to expect our viewers to be participating more. And then we want also our viewers to also like our channel.
Yes. And they should like it on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. And not to forget that our content is reliable. It's not fake news. We do not have fake news on this channel.
All right, welcome back. We just took a short break, and we are glad to be back in the studio. And of course, Taza is here, and of course, she'll be getting to respond to some of the questions that you were asking. Hello, Taza. All right, so I hope she can actually join us back in the studio so we can actually pick it up from there. So continue giving us your contributions. You can continue sharing with us. You can continue getting interactive on our Facebook and our YouTube so we can continue getting your views on what is being discussed today. We're talking about surviving abuse, and our guest in the studio is Taza, who is the founder of Taza Foundation, which is focused on helping people who've been through sexual abuse. Okay, so that's the focus of the people that she gets to deal with. And well, in her time as the leader of this foundation, she's actually gotten to help quite a number of people, talking about up to 80, and being responsible, being a mother of up to 100 rather, and being a mother of up to 80 students, and rather individuals or girls that actually reached out to her after having been victims of rape. And she mentioned something quite important. She talked about how it's not an easy thing, because most of the times the people who tend to abuse individuals are not people very far away from them on most occasions. It's just the people within the household or the people within the neighborhood, people that are trusted, people that are known to be helpful to such people or to the younger people, and vulnerable, if that's a word that I can use. And this turns out to be the people who are, in most occasions, the abusers. Okay, so Taza will be coming through, and of course, we'll be getting to talk more about this. So we get to answer some of your questions. And I saw the first question from Ruben, who talked about what would be done if the abuser is somebody who's actually close to it. We just did actually see Taza touch on it. She said, she's had people who had even their mothers supporting the vice. So here's a person who's been abused, and the mother feels, well, if she actually opens up or reports, then this child is actually abusing, or rather stealing her marriage from, or destroying her home. So there are people who prefer keeping their marriage. Okay, people who prefer keeping their marriage at the expense of their children. So I would rather have my husband with me than have you destroy my home. So these are issues that are happening. These are things that we're seeing in our communities. And of course, we need people who can come out and help people who are vulnerable. Taza, good evening. I hope I can get you this time around. Hello, Taza. Okay, looks like we're still having a bit of some network challenges. Can you hear me? Okay, we're still having a bit of some network challenges with Taza. So she'll be back, being one who's experienced in this and being one who survived being a victim of sexual abuse. She does have a story to tell, especially with the people that she has been dealing with. Taza, can you hear me? Okay, looks like we're still having some challenges getting Taza on board due to some network challenges. So this is it. We just hope she'll be able to hear us and she'll be able to come back shortly so she can give us the final notes even as we are about to conclude on today's program. So we've actually had a lot of cases, and of course I did want to hear from Taza on the issues to do with boys as well, because this is actually the trend. We've seen boys who are being sodomized. There's a video that went viral recently on social media where mother was narrating what had been happening to her child. And recently, again, I think today on social media, I did come across another story where we had a small boy being abused by fellow men. And a few weeks ago, we did have another story where we saw another young man, not young man, I'll say this is an older man who was actually almost abused by a fellow older man. So these are some of the things that are happening in our society. You know, there's a lot of abuse that is happening, and it's not only with the girls, because before we actually thought it is only with the girls, but now we can see that even boys are being victims to such activities. Boys too are being abused, and not just being abused by women. We're saying boys being abused by boys. You know, small boys being sodomized, small boys being victims, and especially these boys that are on the streets, these children on the streets. There's so much wrong that is happening. So that too is a concern. So if you have a contribution, feel free to contribute. So we see the best way that we can actually help make our society a better place. I hope we do get Taza this time around. Hi, Taza.
Hi, I'm back now.
Yeah, so glad to have you back. I almost felt like it wouldn't be possible. All right, Taza. So let's just touch on a few issues. We did have a few questions. So one question that I feel we could talk about. All right, so we have the questions on the screen. So what could be, this is according to Ruben Mulungu Jerome. I just had to read the names jumbled. So this one says, what could be your advice to someone being abused by their relative, in brackets, the stepfather, and the mother is aware and protecting the abuser? Something that you touched on, but for the sake of the one asking the question, what would be your advice on that? And if we do have more questions, we hope that we can have them on the screen as well. So Taza can be answering that one.
Okay, so I would say for such a person, and most families, they're aware of such things. So the way what you can do to help out that person who is being sexually abused by the stepfather and the mother is aware. So you've already seen to say the mother's already created a fence to make sure she's ready to attack. But what can you do? So you talk to that person, and if you're close to them and if you feel you can't do it as a relative, I think you can contact us. We'll be there. It's okay. Even if people hate us, as long as we know we're helping out someone. So if you are far from us, I would say you just talk to that person and find someone they can talk to. And please, when talking to them, make sure that you don't judge them. Let them be free with you, make them feel comfortable and be their safe place. Because what usually happens, I think, when approaching such situations, instead of making them feel at home or safe with us, we try and judge them. And what will happen, it will all turn around, and young girls or a boy, they'll start seeing the abuser as the only person who cares about them. Because before a perpetrator takes a step, they'll try and attack that child in the presence of family members so that each and every person can be against that child. So once they achieve what they're doing, and they'll take a step and rape that child. So they know to say, in as much as that child can come out, they have already built this picture to say this child is not a good child, and you'll be able to put the blame on them, on the child, not the perpetrator. So please make sure you're their safe place and seek justice as soon as possible, because you're killing someone, you're killing a child, and not just a child, you're killing the next generation. So
All
if you can't do
right.
it, please contact us.
They'll you actually help them because you're the experts in the field. All right, we did have another question from Chabwanta Julie, and he's talking about the judicial system. We can actually have that question on the screen. It will actually help me a lot try to analyze it. So he's talking about, all right, so there it is. How has been your experience with our legal system as well as police in dealing with sexual abuse cases? So now let's go to our legal system in Zambia. Has it helped? And how has your experience been generally?
To be honest, I would out of a 10, I would give it a 5.
Okay.
I would give it a 5. It hasn't been an easy thing. So that's why we made sure as Taza Foundation, we have our own lawyers in the foundation, and we have our own police officers, we have our own doctors. Because at first we just used to go to them, and this is something that used to take longer than expected.
Mm. All
And
right.
personally, on my end, being a young girl trying to push this, and I have been attacked by by these guys a lot of times. So that's
Mm.
why I made sure to say, when I saw that it's taking long for us to seek justice for the young girls, we have our own lawyers, our own police officers, our own doctors. So when we receive a case, we take it up ourselves.
Okay, that is quite strategic. I like the fact that you've involved any relevant person that could help carry out your mandate. That is quite brilliant, if you would ask me. So let's just touch on the latest issues. The issues of small boys being sodomized. Even as we conclude, what are your thoughts on that? And as Taza Foundation, are you making any deliberate moves in protecting the boys, especially? I know you've had so many girls, but now the boys who are being sodomized, I don't know. Have you made any moves to at least assist this group of people?
So from the time that we started with the girl child, and from the time we opened up the door to say we are also receiving boys, it hasn't been an easy thing. So far I've only
Okay.
received one, and I think for boys it's harder than girls. So boys don't really tend to open up, because men are raised to say they're strong, and they're not supposed to show their pain. So they're actually the most affected than women. Because as women, we can cry it out, but for boys, even if you tell them to say, okay, this is your safe place, you try by all means to make it sure and seem to them that you're going to help them. It takes time for boys to really open up. And my thought is
Mm.
that for whatever that's happening around the world, or around Zambia to say, or Africa, it's lack of knowledge.
Okay.
So if we can just start by all means, so we're trying as Taza Foundation to educate a lot of men and women. We're trying by all means to educate a lot of men and women in making sure to say they have the knowledge that they want. And even young boys, young girls, I think it's something, I go back to what I said, it's something that I can't do on my own, or something that we can't do on our own as Taza Foundation. But if we hold hands and say, okay, we're going to do this, it's something that we can achieve. So people are lacking information, women and men out there, they're lacking information. And to be honest, it's now scary. The last time I was doing a research, 7 girls uh, on a daily basis get raped here in Lusaka only.
Mm-hmm.
And then now it's 4 boys on a daily basis. So it's not safe on both sides.
Yeah,
And then
that is
among
quite
the 7 girls getting raped on a daily basis, maybe 1 or 2 would go and report. And the 5, they don't. If it's
wow.
boys, out of 10, none, they don't go and report.
Okay. That's quite serious. So I see we have a long way to go.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a long way to go. All right, Taza, we have come to the end of this program. It has been amazing having you on the program. So as we are concluding, what are your take-home notes? Hello, Taza.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure, I can hear you now. I'm saying we are concluding now. We've come to the end of the program. So what would be your closing remarks? All right, still looks like we are having a bit of a challenge, but this is actually where we end today's edition of Lifestyle. My name is Moddipher, and I have been your host. It has been quite interesting getting to learn about what is happening in society and taking note of the fact that we have people who are taking deliberate steps to see to it that the people around are being helped in a way or two. Most occasions, we know that the experience that we go through sometimes is not just in vain. No matter how bad it can be used to, help somebody out there just so they can better their lives and become a better people. So from Moddipher and the rest of the team, thank you so much for being a part of the program. To those of you that have sent in your contributions, thank you so much. Do well to join me again next week, Tuesday, even as we tackle another issue, getting to look at different personalities. And I hope you'll be tuned in to see who I will be talking to next week. So do well to follow Taza Foundation. And in case you are one that has been a victim to some of these things, you don't know how to speak out, you don't know who you can talk to that can help you, Taza Foundation is saying they are there for you and they can actually assist you. Thank you so much and stay blessed. Bye-bye.